while Bear Paw's here, we've been working on a lot of these junk pole fences last week or two. And so Bear Paw, you probably don't know that the segments that you worked on, like a couple of months later, we don't get very much wind here ever, but every once in a long while, there's a powerful gust that comes through. It lasts like 15, 20 seconds and then it's over. And it blew over Bear Paw's fence.
No.
So Fred made a really good point that if you put the rock jacks on the other, because of course it's a rock jack fence, not a fence post fence.
Yeah.
And if you put the rock jacks on the other side, that's counter to where the wind comes from, then the wind would blow the jack so that it is pushing into the ground. But we had the rock jacks on the other side, so it just pulled the rock jack off the ground. And all the rocks. I mean, it was like a big lever. And
you could have it on both sides.
All the junk pole fence was like a big sail and just pushed it right over.
A lot of work.
Yeah,
but to do it on both sides.
Once you got all the material there, though, a junk pole fence goes together really fast.
Yeah.
It's like 90% getting the material to where the fence is going to be.
Well, luckily, a lot of the material is already where those junk pole fences are going.
Not at base camp. Because at base camp, we're like one giant rock. And so the trees are fairly sparse.
The trees aren't there, but the rocks are. Like,
oh, yeah.
To me, the rocks are the biggest pain in the ass to move.
That's true.
Trees.
That's true. But I think when you build a junk pole fence up on the lab, it goes like 5 times faster.
Yeah.
Because the junk pole's already there. And instead of making a rock jack, you use a regular fence post. Because I think that this property is pretty unusual in the area and that we've got like these really deep subsoils. I think most of this area, most of this region is like base camp where it's like one giant rock. And so the lab is a sweet, sweet property.
Why would you even put in junk pole fences or rock jacks, I should say? Why would you even put in rock jacks at the lab?
No, you wouldn't put in rock jacks at the lab. Why would you? Yeah, why would you put rock jacks? Yeah. I don't know. Why would you?
I wouldn't.
You're the dumbass suggesting it. What the hell? What kind of idiot are you?
I heard junk pole fences, and whenever I hear you talk about junk pole fences, I picture rock jacks. And so I'm like, why the fuck would you do that? I get it now.
Well, you know why we do them here, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not putting a post on the ground. You're not going to like, oh, let's just dig a post hole right here. Ping, ping. Yeah. This will take 3 or 4 days to dig this post hole.
Well, we're 4 minutes into it, but welcome everybody to Permaculture Smackdown. This is episode 43, I believe. Today, we're going to talk about kind of a bunch of stuff, but mostly I want it to be an encouragement to all of the entrepreneurs in the permaculture world out there. Okay, I want to kind of get a message to you that it's going to be okay. Keep fighting through. Now, I would say that I have a lot, my company has a lot to do with permaculture, but it's more focused towards a preparedness audience. Like most of my audience is preppers. And to me, they go hand in hand, prepper and permaculture. And so that's why it's kind of a community that deals with both. However, you are mostly on the permaculture side, which, like I said, has their hand in hand, but like preppers aren't looking at permies as much as hippie people are. I think there's more hippies looking at permies than there are preppers, not preppies, preppers looking at permies. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's been a shift in the last 8 years, maybe 10 years, and that I think that, and I kind of feel like the hippies are pissed. I kind of feel like the preppers have really embraced permaculture for good reason. I mean, it's smart. I do feel like if you do a lot of permaculture stuff, you're not thinking of it as being a prepper, but you're accidentally a prepper because a lot of the goals are the same. I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of like if you're growing enough food to feed yourself, I mean, you're going to piss off the government the same way a prepper does.
Yeah.
But you weren't trying to do that. You know, that's an accident.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with politics. Like, I think multiple years ago, we'll say 5 years or even 5 years ago, but probably more like 7 or 8, most of preppers were like conservative, right wing, and most of permies were liberal lefties.
I would say that in the United States, now my understanding is outside of the United States that that might not have been as true. But yeah, in the United States, a lot of the people that love permaculture are definitely hippies, and
We're not necessarily hippies, but at least they're all about, like, a big part of permaculture, or what gets advocated in permaculture, is the environment. And the environment is definitely more talked about in the media, at least, by the left. Like, it's a left issue. Like, it's whenever environment is brought up, usually it's the left that's advocating for, like, let's do things better for the environment. And then the right, while I would say it's still for the environment, they just want to go for it a different way, oftentimes. But I think all that's changing. That's what I'm getting at.
Oh, no,
like,
yeah.
like in the last 6 years, like, major shifts are happening. And hopefully what we're seeing is no more left and right, but people going, there are issues on both sides I agree with. And I think that's when we start seeing a lot more people in permies realizing, oh shit, we're preppers, and they're not all like right-wing assholes or whatever. And people on the right that are preppers are going, oh shit, I'm not a total.
I've decided to not kill all the fucking hippies. A couple of them are all right.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're seeing a merger, and that's a great thing. But it does bring up a lot of conflicting talks. Like, people are, still arguing points, talking points that they see on, Fox or CNN or whatever.
The thing I find frustrating is that it's like, okay, there's a lot of hippies that are into permaculture. They love permaculture, and then their message is that all those people over there, referring to the right, they really need to do this and this, and then in permaculture. If they could just do permaculture, the world would be good. And then it's like then suddenly a lot of these preppers are embracing permaculture and really grooving on it and really changing a lot of their general approaches to a lot of things to line up with permaculture. And now it seems like the hippies, those same people, are now pissed as hell that this thing that they love is now being loved on by somebody else. It's like they're jealous, maybe. I'm not sure. But and now they're angry that it's like, angry about other things about that group, and it's like that's not, and I'm hearing that's not permaculture, and it's kind of like, so I've been working really hard to try and say that about the purple and brown. In fact, the schmoozeroo, we call it the purple and brown schmoozeroo, and we refer to the hippies as being more purple, and that came from something. Who was that guy down in Los Angeles? There's a guy in Larry Santoyo. He's the one who came up with this expression, purple breathers. A bunch of purple breathers, and it's like I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I kind of get what he's saying, and so I kind of like this. So I've been saying purple, and then at some point we came up with brown, meaning the people that do permaculture, but without the ceremony, without the holding hands and singing songs. And then, of course, I try to speculate that there's a lot of people in between that are purple and brown. And I kind of feel like with our schmoozeroo, where it's the purple and brown schmoozeroo, it's like there are people that are brown that are like totally cool with purple people, and there are purple people that are totally cool with brown people. Yeah. And it's like, and I want that. I love the idea of that for permaculture. what I struggle with is where the brown people point at the purple people and say, look at those fucking shits over there holding hands and singing songs. And then the purple people point back to the brown people and say something about like, oh, you can't do that unless you hold hands and sing songs. That's not right. And so it's kind of like there's this hate element. And it's kind of like, you know what? I want there to be permaculture without the hate element. There are many schools of thought under the permaculture umbrella. And I think most of the hate is coming from people who say you should never hate anybody.
Yes. And my big thing is I want so desperately, but it's so ingrained into our society, but I want so desperately for permaculture not to have a left versus right mentality and like not take talking points from the left or from the right and combine them into permaculture, like try to split or divide people within permaculture. I want people to realize that there are shitloads of hands. There's not just a left and right. There's, it's all over the place. People have all kinds of thoughts about all kinds of things. Some people are totally conservative, but they're cool with pot, or, there's all kinds of things out there and people out there. So trying to divide people isn't the answer. Like, that's not going to work for permaculture. It's just going to slow permaculture down.
I agree.
Okay. Now, why are we bringing any of this up? It's because a lot of people in business, I think, especially now with permaculture is becoming very business driven. There's a lot of people trying to start up their own business in permaculture. That's kind of part of the thing of being like more self-sufficient, is that you can work for yourself. If you can work for yourself, that's a great thing. Like, if you can grow your own food, that's a great thing. It's the same kind of thinking, I think. And so there's a lot more starting to come up. And I'm hearing a lot of people in the business getting distracted from continuing forward, like driving things forward, moving things forward. And I'm getting a lot of people saying, man, I just want to do this thing, and all these people are saying, I'm doing it wrong, or they're saying, I'm not working for them. And my big thing is let's try not to. You want to listen to your customers, obviously, and you want to listen to your staff members, obviously, but don't let it overwhelm you. You need to drive forward. We need to get this thing moving forward, and I kind of want to hear your ideas on how that happens, how we do that.
Okay. Well, of course, you're saying, why are we talking about this? And I'm thinking like, because it's Permaculture Smackdown, baby. and we take on the toughest stuff, the ugliest stuff, the stuff that's the most controversial. And I kind of feel like, it's level 5 stuff. And whereas I think other people in permaculture, they're like the most they're comfortable talking about is level 2 stuff. Like they can't go. So it's like once you've gotten bored with your level 2 stuff, come on down. We've got some deep stuff for you. But I think that business is a little different in permaculture. Yeah. And I think a lot of it has to. So I've got 2 big websites, right? I've got Permies, which is all about permaculture, and Code Ranch. And Code Ranch is much larger. And the amount of drama at Permies on the smaller site is 100 times greater than the amount of drama out at Code Ranch.
Well, there's not a lot of political divide within Code Ranch, like programmers, right?
So software engineers, are you fucking nuts? Political divide?
Really? Within coders?
I mean, first of all, if you want to talk about politics, it's like there's a lot of powerful conservatives, a lot of powerful liberals in the world of software engineering.
Sure, but what does that have to do with programming language? Like if your focus of conversation is programming language, why are they going, you're coding like a liberal, or you're coding like a conservative?
There's passionate philosophies about good software engineering.
Okay.
Extremely passionate. In fact, how the site grew is I had some radically different philosophies in software engineering. And I was getting so much email that was asking the same questions over and over again that I made the forums so I could answer a question once and then the answer's out there. So it dramatically reduced the amount of emails I got. So no, there's debate over software engineering technique.
Okay.
But on Permies, it's like, I mean, for software engineering, no one in software engineering says you should love everybody unconditionally. No one's ever said that in the world of software engineering, but you hear it a lot at Permies. And of course, those people, whenever because at Permies, we've had it pop up so often that there's certain phrases that are like, red flags, like, oh shit, watch out, here it comes. One of them being, you should love everybody unconditionally, because that's always a signature that person is going to drop hate bombs on everybody.
Yeah.
It's coming. It's just around the corner. Here it comes. For the longest time, in fact, before my presentation at PV1, I was becoming more and more convinced that the word namaste meant I will fuck up your shit tomorrow. I was absolutely convinced of that, because it's like, I think it's supposed to mean something nice, but I just kind of get this whole impression that I'll fuck up your shit tomorrow is like, really, because it's like, sure enough, the next day, fucking nightmare from this person. So it's kind of like, be on the lookout. This person just said namaste. It's going down tomorrow. You'll see. I looked it up, and namaste means I bow to the divine in you. I think the people saying it might not know that. They might not. They might want to look it up. Like they heard somebody else say it. It's like, that sounds cool. I don't know what it means, but I want to say it too. Or it's like people who have a tattoo that says chow mein in Chinese.
Where does that where do you think that originated, or originally in America became very popular? Like yoga classes? Is that kind of where namaste came from, or?
I don't know.
I think I want to say yoga. I'm just gonna guess and say
could be Buddhism, maybe. All right. So there's that. There's a few others, and it's kind of like anybody brings up the third ethic, normally that's an indicator that they are conducting some extremely unethical behavior, and they're going to demand that people validate their unethical behavior in the name of the third ethic. And they won't hear no for an answer. They command everybody to do as they say. And if you won't validate their unethical behavior in the name of the third ethic, they will lose their shit. And they will call everybody unethical in the name of the third ethic. So, Adam says it's usually associated with yoga.
Okay. Thank you, Adam.
So, all right. I think the other thing is that I like Erica Wisner once said something to me, and I tried to write something, but I never quite got it right. So I'm still working on it. I've got it as a text file on my computer. Someday I'll finish writing this thing. But basically she said something like, if your permaculture is about deviating from the norm, and if you're going to have a bunch of deviants, you're going to have a bunch of, by definition, we're weird, because if you're going to be not weird, you're going to be normal. And if you're going to be normal, you're not doing permaculture. So by doing permaculture, you have to embrace you are weird. And it's like, okay, now you bring in 1 million weirdos. What the fuck did you think is going to happen? Yeah. And so I think that's a really good point. And it's like, how did people get to the point that they embrace permaculture? Well, I think that nearly everybody's going to have a different story. It's not like there's a big marketing campaign out there that tells you why you should do permaculture. everybody's coming to it from a different place. And so as they start to groove on permaculture, or have been grooving on permaculture for many years, then they each have a different story on why and how they're there. And then when they encounter somebody else with permaculture, then it's like their story is so different that we kind of get into this whole natural psychology of a typical human being, which is going to be that your stuff is so different from mine, it makes me uncomfortable. And so as I look at the things that you have shared, I wish to express the bits that make me uncomfortable. And so now what we do is we start to experience this friction between people that we don't see out at Code Ranch. There's a friction, but it's kind of a respectful exchange, and it gets to be heated at times, but it never gets heated the way it gets heated on Permies. Now, of course, on Permies, we delete that shit. Mm-hmm. It's like but it's like there's powder kegs all over the place. And so basically each person has their own philosophy set on what's okay and not okay. And it's like, and another one is that each person has their own recipe for how permaculture has been awesome for them. Maybe it's because they're in a tropical climate and they're talking to somebody in a cold climate. And they're like, swales are the way. And then the cold climate person's going to be like, hugelkulture is the way. And then so then there's the biochar stuff and things like that. And it's kind of like, they're not respectful of where the other person might be. And then you get people that are actually in the same town that will get into these heated, super angry debates. I think I've been banned from Reddit. I've been banned from the Portland Permaculture Guild, their mailing list. I've been banned from a bunch of different places. Why? Because I expressed an opinion that was different from somebody else. And it's like, so I had to go. I think on the Portland Permaculture, somebody was slamming Ernie and Erica. So, and I stood up for Ernie and Erica, and so I got banned for standing up for Ernie and Erica.
So my question is, why didn't you just quit there? Like, why didn't you just say, oh, well, it didn't work out for me. Permaculture doesn't work for me. I need to, or, at least in the business world, my public figure in this, I just need to step out of it.
Okay, so so we're not talking about a generic me. We're talking about me, and right?
Sure. Yeah.
So for me, I quit my career because I think that permaculture can fix things for billions of people, and they just don't know it yet. And that the problems, the suffering all over the world from all kinds of different things, I think that the solution is nearly universally permaculture and homesteading. When you see children dying of cancer needlessly, when you hear about war, when you go fishing in far off deep wilderness and that fish is infested with mercury poisoning that wasn't there 40 years ago. When you encounter these problems and you know that there's solutions and they're really fucking simple, the only thing that's gumming up the works is that people don't know about it. And so it's like, okay, how do I do this? And so it was in 2004, 13 years ago, that I quit my career. And it's like, I can see a path. I can see a way to get this knowledge into more brains. It'll be a lot of hard work. And it's like, but I'll bet that if I do this hard work, there will be other people like Josiah who will be like, fucking A, I'm going to do this hard work too. And then there's going to be Burra and Jocelyn and Fred and all these other people that are like, yes, those children don't need to die from the stupidity of the masses. We can make a difference. We can make things better. So when you ask me, why didn't I just drop it and let it go? I'm just fucking obsessed, man. I am so tired, and yet every day I leap out of bed to do more of this. And then I go to bed fully exhausted. And I realize throughout the day, I have helped 8,000 people, and I have seriously pissed off 100. And it's like, and the people that I helped, the 8,000 people, 2 of them are grateful. You know? So it's like, it's just, I can't stop myself.
So is this something, what you just said to me was very passionate and I loved it. Is that something you say to yourself in your head every time you get attacked by people? Like, fuck you, I know why I'm doing this and I'm going to continue? Is that, or like,
I would say most of the time that somebody attacks me, I kind of feel like they're standing, because usually what it is, almost every single time, that what they're doing is they're saying, Paul, you need to change, buddy. You need to tell people this other message that I just gave you. You need to do a different thing. You need to stop saying fuck. You need to, whatever. They've always got a thing that they need me to do. And then I'm like, yeah, I've considered your idea. And I decided that I'm going to hold the steering wheel on my life. And I'm going to go a different way than what you're suggesting.
Now, those people that
lose their shit. They lose their shit. They got to do everything they can to stop me.
Now, I would say most of those people are probably in, like, they also want permaculture to go through the world, right? And fix the world.
That's true. That's true. And they need to stop me because I'm saying a permaculture message that's different than their permaculture message.
Right.
And it's like, and it's like, what? So I'm gonna. I mean, what compelled the Fauches to make their video? What was the big message there? Why do they made it clear that they do not care for me in any way, shape, or form, and they discourage people to have anything to do with me?
Do you think that's a mentality of picking camps and saying you got to be in this camp or this camp, like, and trying to direct people into those camps?
So like if you're talking about Christianity, there's like 47 flavors of Christianity, and so they're all bickering amongst each other like that.
I was more thinking like, yeah, I mean, that could be an example, or left and like a liberal versus a Republican or whatever.
Well,
and they're trying to create teams or parties and saying, you need to, you're supposed to be on my side. I thought you were on my side. You need to change something because what you just said is not on our side. That's something on the other side.
Okay, so there's so many different things going on, and there's so many different people, and every person that loses their shit and behaves poorly, they've got their own little story. Is it a faction thing? I don't think it's even a faction thing. I think that it is. I mean, I think Erica Wisner's point that I was talking about a little bit ago is a little bit like, you have decided to exercise independent thought. Good for you. And you've decided to embrace permaculture. Oh, it's a lovely package. Congratulations. Independent thought plus permaculture. I mean, those two go together extremely well. And look over there. There's somebody else, another individual that has opted for the exact same package. And so maybe they'll be your best friend for life. And then, of course, you go over and you look at it, and it's like, that fucker wears overalls, man. He's psychotic because he's wearing overalls. Everybody knows that, it's about this other fashion angle. That's the wrong fashion. So, no, I hate that fucker. Or he says fuck, and it's like, that is absolutely unacceptable. And so, therefore, they have independent thought. They are an independent person. And so, their school of thought on permaculture is a school of thought, but they are certain it is the only school of thought. And so then anybody who deviates from this one school of thought and uses the word permaculture, well, they're obviously wrong and they need to be corrected. And so that's where nearly all, so it's not factions. It's more like, these independent individuals. Independence leases. Now it's kind of like, you might think, wow, Paul Wheaton, you sure get a shitstorm of crap thrown your way. And it's like, oh, what, you think Jeff Lawton doesn't? You think Sepp Holzer doesn't? Man, I bet. In fact, I know for a fact Sepp Holzer gets 10 times more than I get. Willie Smits. I mean, I kind of think that almost. In fact, well, should we go through? Like, name a person who's a great person in history
that didn't get a lot of shit.
Got a fuck ton of shit. In fact, any person you name, I bet you that they got at least 10 times more shit than I've ever gotten.
Yeah. I can't name anybody. I'm sure
I kind of feel like if I'm going to try to accomplish as much as Gandhi did, if I'm going to work to try and get permaculture to be better known than Gandhi, then I need to be prepared to have more shit thrown at me than Gandhi ever had.
And prepared to just say, just brush it off your shoulder, right? It's shit that comes at you and just dodge it. Yeah, get it out of here. I don't care about it.
I think you got to have your strategies in place. You got to be prepared to dodge it. You got to be prepared to stand by whatever it is you say. There's a lot of hard work going on that path. But of course, it's like with many things with permaculture, you got to have multiple strategies, really. And you know what? A great strategy would be to be a bazillionaire and then have a team of 500 people who fight those fights for you. But of course, I am not a bazillionaire. So it's going to be a long, slow road for me. And I'm going to just catch a lot of hell. So, I mean, think about it. Every last person who has said, Paul Wheaton, what a fucking asshole. What was their thing? What was their thing that they complained about? And I think find me one person who said Paul Wheaton is an asshole and they actually had a case. I think it's universally that they commanded me to live a life other than my own choosing. And because I would not enter into this agreement to be their personal lifetime slave, that was unacceptable to them and they lost their shit.
Yeah, one I hear frequently is, boy, Paul yells too much, or he's yelling at me. And I don't like that feeling of being yelled at. Now, I also hear that from people that listen to, what's his name?
Gilbert Gottfried?
No, I was thinking Alex Jones of InfoWars.
Oh.
Alex Jones. He's a very energetic guy and he yells a lot. And people get like, ooh, you're too yelly. And then the other one I hear about you is, the same thing you mentioned. He's swearing. He could get his message across just fine without the cursing. And now I don't listen to it because I can't stand these words. I don't need to hear them. My kids don't need to hear them. And so there you go. I'm done with listening to it.
So I hear, here's Dana reminding me of like the signature that, when you're at the fight and get shit done, you say, son of a bitch. And so that's the calling card to get shit done. Son of a bitch.
I was wondering why Dana typed that in. I was like, I guess she doesn't like the topic.
Well, I think part of it is my PV1 speech. I made the whole audience say it because I kind of felt like, because at the beginning of my presentation, I was saying something about like, I will talk about children dying of cancer. And then I'll say that really fucking pisses me off. And then there'll be a bunch of people in the audience that gasp and say something like, you don't have to use that kind of language. And it's like, seriously, I just talked about children dying of cancer and you couldn't give a fuck about that. But I say fuck and now you lose your shit. Really? And it's like, and so I asked the audience to say it with me, son of a bitch. Because children dying of cancer, I mean, this used to not be a fucking thing. Now it's like prevalent. It's all over. We've got I think I looked it up, and in 1950 there was the first pediatric oncology unit, and now we've got over 400. And it's like that's a powerful metric. The population hasn't grown by a factor of 400. So, and in fact, I got turned on to this the first time at a Sepultura event. There was a doctor there, and she was another student observing Sepultura stuff, and she was telling me that in the last 50 years, 60 years, cancer has grown by a factor of 400. And I said, "Do you mean 400%?" And she said, "Did I stutter? No. 400 times more cancer per capita now than what there used to be." And that's per capita, and it's 400 times, not 400%. And I'm kind of thinking like, I just can't imagine that can possibly be true. But I've done a lot of looking into it, and I think it might be. But if nothing else, with children, it's just so it's like if you meet a kid who's got fucking cancer, and it's like you tell the kid, you're gonna fucking die. What you know what you're dying from? Plastic. That's it. People smoking. The plastic in your carpet, the plastic in your walls, sorry, the plastic in your food, in your water, just plastic. We just needed some plastic. And so now, I guess you got to die. Well, sacrifices. But hey, the good news is that you're susceptible to plastic, so you won't be breeding. And we're going to come up with a breed that can tolerate plastic because we're into it. Other petroleum stuff. How about the mercury in the air? This is all this stuff. We just kind of want this stuff, and no one really gives a shit that you're dying of cancer. So we're going to have stuff and not you.
Right. And we're going to focus on people saying fuck instead of focus on you having cancer.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about fuck for a moment, and it's kind of like, I wish to express, I appreciate everybody who has chosen to be offended by that word.
Okay. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I know you can go on about it. There's a lot to talk about the word. But
all I want to say is that if they weren't getting pissed off about it, the word would be 30% less funny. So I appreciate people being upset. I hope they get upset. Yeah. That just makes it funnier.
So now, what would you say to... I'm trying to... all right, so there's a lot of people getting into permaculture. There's a lot of businesses getting into permaculture and starting up. Now, I would say one of the biggest groups of people to come into permaculture is the prepper group. Would you say that's about accurate? And I would also... that was a big growth for permaculture, was the preppers getting interested in it.
Yeah.
And I would like also to say is a big part of that happening was because of a guy named Jack Spirko. Who I worked with and was a good friend. And so thank you to Jack. I hope everybody sends him an email saying thank you. And just flood his email. It doesn't matter. It just goes in the spam, sure, anyway. So we have a big group of people coming in, and I want to say I'm very happy to see a lot of businesses starting with permaculture. And the reason I'm very happy for that, and a lot of people are against business and capitalism, but a lot of businesses coming into permaculture means a lot more of those kind of groups coming into permaculture and the growth of permaculture happening. And then more businesses can come in and more people can thrive through permaculture. And that is a good thing. There will be bad apples out there. There will be things that you as individuals, just like we were talking about, might not see as being the right way. Well, the good news is that the more people coming in, that means there's more people to choose from and say that's the right way, or the way I choose to, that's the person I want to listen to or follow. There's more selection. And I think that's the case now. There's a lot of selection out there. And so instead of trying to bring down someone, just go see someone else. And in that, and if enough people do that, that's the great thing about competition is that the person that will suffer will be the person that isn't doing it right.
I like that. In fact, when it comes to whether or not to take it on or not, then I think that there's a lot of people that when you start to practice permaculture and you're like even just permaculture gardening and they see it, then part of what they want to do is come over and try and persuade you to stop doing it. Like that's dumb. It's and then I think a great response is like, man, I'm not making you do it. You know, I'm out here doing this on my, and it's like no problem. It's like with rocket mass heaters. There's a bunch of people that say all the numbers are hype, and it's like, okay, man, you know what? I'm not making you do it. All right, you don't have to do it. I'm over here enjoying the benefit of it, and you can say that I'm not. Okay, whatever. And I think that what's going to happen in 5 years down the road, that 70% of the people are going to be heating their home with a fraction of the wood, like 1/10 the wood, and that fucker is still going to be using 12 cords of wood every winter, and it's like,
who's going to prosper?
You just sit there and keep talking about how it's not really happening, and we tried to tell you, and you said it was bullshit. So whatevs, man.
And you'll continue to grow because you're gathering more resources. Like you're not having to spend as many resources to make that fire happen. And when people are interacting with businesses, you have to understand that businesses are started by people that are guided by principles, their own personal principles, and resources. That's it. And so attacking someone's core principles probably isn't going to change their business model. They're probably going to say, I don't need you as a customer. And now attacking their resources, the way to do that is to say, I'm no longer going to do business with this person. I'm going to do business with someone else. And there you go. You've fought the beast of that company you hated so much. This is the argument with that people have like against Walmart, right? It's like, your vote is with your dollar. If you don't spend your money at Walmart, guess what? Walmart's going to do worse, or they're going to have to change their ways because they're motivated by their principles and their resources that they collect. If their resources start going down, that's how you get them to change.
I never understood how people had this big hatred of Walmart. And I met a guy where he would do some kind of like go into Walmart to protest. So he and like 50 people would all go in and grab shopping carts, and they wandered around Walmart for hours with the shopping carts. And apparently they thought that they were occupying so many shopping carts and so much real estate inside of Walmart that they were gumming up the works. And they thought it was a form of protest. And
Okay.
and it's like, okay, I respect your right to protest, but why are you so pissed at Walmart? And it's like, well, Walmart does this and this and this. And it's kind of like, so does Target, so does the mom and pop shop, so does, so do all these other companies. They're all fucking doing it. And it's like, well, it's wrong. It is. It would be better if they didn't do those things. It would be great if, but as and well, this one Walmart, this one time they did this bad thing. And did the person who did the bad thing, did they go to jail? Well, yeah. Okay. I'm glad we had this chat. I guess it all got worked out then, right? So it's like, but why are you hating all, and it's like, if the company, if I think for all the anger directed to Walmart, there should be 100 times more anger directed at Microsoft. Microsoft has done some very seriously evil shit. And it's like, but you just don't really hear that much. But Walmart, now, I'm a software engineer, and then I did really good in software engineering, and I got to kind of rub elbows with other software engineers that were doing really good in software engineering. So you get to hear things and know things, and so let's just say the whole anti-Walmart thing is artificial. It is actually put together by Walmart's competitors. now let's explore another thing. Well, Walmart came to my town and they closed up this and they closed up that and they, whatever. And it's kind of like, now look what's happening. Amazon is are the Walmarts going to fold because of Amazon? Maybe.
Yeah, I think they will. Especially when Amazon's doing a bunch of stuff with delivery. Like that's the main focus is they're starting to open their own Amazon stores, like storefronts. They're starting to have their own delivery company. They're like, because they're just sick of paying UPS and FedEx and USPS. And they're like, we can just do our own fucking delivery company. And they're starting to do things like drone delivery. Like, yeah, order it up. A drone will deliver it to your door in an hour. We're going to have blimps in the air that are distribution centers, and fucking drones are going to fly. Like, that's a literal patent that Amazon has. And drones will fly your packages down to you. You no longer have to spend money on gasoline to go to the store to buy your thing. You just have to have the patience to wait an hour and it'll be at your door. So yeah, things are going to start shutting down as those kind of things happen. But you know what else will happen is a lot of niches will come about because of it. There'll be niche companies that are started because of things like that. Like drone protection companies, or who knows, people that will sit in your yard and shoot drones that fly over your house. I don't know. Whatever. There's going to be a lot of niche companies that come up from that. Anyway, we kind of went on off topic. My whole point was that so that was to address people that are attacking businesses. It's like there's so many options out there to choose from, and you can start your own thing. And if your idea is so much better on how to do things, do it, and you'll probably win if you're right.
I had somebody being upset with me today because of something that I've said probably 300 times. And that is that I have a lot of people who tell me that I manage forums wrong. And so one of the things I do is that, I try to hear whatever the suggestion is. And then if I don't agree with the suggestion and they're still adamant that I must obey, then I say, look, why don't you create your own forum? And then if you're right, your forum will be big and massive and awesome, and mine will turn into a ghost town. So I had somebody again telling me today that that's just rude for me to say. I should never say that. I don't understand how it's rude, but some people have decided it's rude. But along the lines of what you're saying about business, I do feel like when permaculture, like when I did my Kickstarters or when I tried to make the DVDs and sell them, I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, okay, I've already put a bunch of free content out about rocket mass heaters. And I got a lot of traction. One of my videos has like 1.5 million views. So it's like, okay, I got it out a little bit. I got some of that out there. And it's like, but there's a lot of people that still don't know about rocket mass heaters. And it's like, okay, so how do I reach them? And I'm thinking like through a commercial channel. So what I do is I have a product that costs $100 and then it'll be available on shelves. And then people are like cruising around looking at other products. They'll see my product and then they'll learn about how rocket mass heaters exist. And it's like, I have gotten 50 or 60 messages, usually not emails, messages through, like I'll post it on YouTube and then there'll be somebody that's a permaculture enthusiast losing his shit about how all information should be free and that this is a money grubbing capitalistic thing. And I'm kind of thinking like, okay, if I want to pay for advertising to get this out, how do I pay for advertising for something that's free? And it's like, but if it's a commercial product, then I can pay for advertising for the commercial product and hopefully I can get that money back, which it turns out for most advertising that's effective today, you spend $1,000 in advertising and you get about $1,000 in sales. And so it's kind of like, this is not a strong win. There must be companies out there that understand it 100 times better than I do, and they can spend $1,000 in advertising and get $2,000 in sales. I don't know how to do it. So I think there is a lot of sentiment, and I think it is from the purple community. It's not from the prepper or brown community. I think that there are a lot of them that are like, oh, everything should be free. And to them, I kind of say the same exact rude and obnoxious thing. And it's like, then you should make your own product like this and give it away for free. And then, of course, on YouTube, when they make this comment, everything should be for free, I go and I look at their channel, because you just click on their name, you can see how many videos they've uploaded. They've uploaded 0 videos. And it's kind of like, all right, so your message is what? That everybody should do nothing, I guess. I think that's what you just said. And so I think I've got, do I have more than 200 videos now? I think I do. I think I have more than 200 videos up on YouTube that are free. And then, of course, I've got 3 different DVD sets. Yeah, 3 different DVD sets.
I want to, so what I'm trying to convey is for people to look at who you're engaging with, the company you're engaging with, or whatever. And if you don't like what they're doing, look at their principles and how they're getting resources. And that's the way to understand what's going to affect change in that person. If you want to see change in them, those are what is going to make the change, right? And an example of that is, I get this all the time with consulting work, is that you're greenwashing, man, or this company is greenwashing. You shouldn't do work for this company because they're greenwashing. And so what greenwashing apparently is, I had to look it up because I'm like, what the fuck is greenwashing? And apparently what it is like a company like Walmart or whatever will say, yeah, we're all energy efficient. We put in these light bulbs, or we're whatever. And so my answer to it is like, if Walmart came to me, or McDonald's, right, came to me and was like, hey man, we're getting a lot of bad rap for all the plastic shit we sell. We want to put like trees all over our properties to make people think that we're green. I would be like, fuck yeah, I will totally do that, because now I'm going to be planting trees at every fucking Walmart or McDonald's in the world. Are you kidding me? What is wrong with that? Greenwash away. If it means I get to plant more trees, I'm all about it. Why is that a bad thing?
Okay, so here's a great example of greenwashing.
Okay.
The fluorescent light bulb. So it's a toxic shitstorm, an environmental shitstorm. It is an environmental disaster. But on the package, it says, good for the environment.
But I would say that that's not greenwashing. That's forced by the government. Like, that's not the people making the decision. That's the government making the decision for you.
Oh, I take it you have never watched my video called Mr. Stinky Pants.
I guess not.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think so.
It's short. It's a short video.
Should we watch it now?
You go to YouTube. You fucking pull it up right now.
All right. Mr.
So Stinky Pants is all one word.
Okay, pants. I think I have seen this, but we'll play it. And I'm gonna be so pissed if YouTube kicks this video off because I'm copyrighted or something.
Right. Don't do it then. Don't do it.
I don't. Would they? Because it's yours. Like,
I don't know. YouTube's got weird shit, and it's like,
I'm gonna do it just to see what happens.
Okay. All right.
Let's see here.
Dana says, do it! Do it! Where is it? Based on a true story. Yep, there it is. It's actually based on 2 true stories. I think it says that, though, once you start playing it. Oh, I can't hear it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I checked the share audio thing. Oh, they updated the app, so maybe I have to like
Do
type
weird
it.
shit.
Let's see. Let's see. Can you hear it now?
All right. You know what? Okay. I can't hear anything. I don't
Okay.
see anything either. But there it is. I drew that. Damn, I'm good at drawing. Okay. Here's the important thing. There's actually, so one, it talks about planned obsolescence, how the light bulbs, they only last 1,000 hours because they were lasting 10,000 hours, but then in 1924, it was the Phoebus cartel. All the light bulb manufacturers met and agreed to limit the lifespan of their light bulbs to 1,000 hours. So that way people had to keep buying more light bulbs. So the lifespan of the incandescent light bulb is made intentionally artificially short. Then the next thing is that the profit margin on an incandescent light bulb is really small. But when the fluorescent light bulbs came out, the cost of a fluorescent, I think the first ones was cost like $40 to get a single fluorescent light bulb. But the profit margin that they had on those was much bigger. And so basically what it worked out to be is that if they could sell millions of the fluorescents, they would make, like 100 times more money. It would be this enormous amount of money if they could sell fluorescents, as many fluorescents as they were selling of the incandescent. But sales were not good. Sales were pathetic. People just didn't want to spend $40 a bulb when they could get a bulb for 50 cents. And so what happened is that lobbyists step in and they're like, okay, will you pay? Because if you get fucking rich, will you share that fucking rich with me? And then I'll get fucking rich if I can get the government involved to force this through. So it's the light bulb companies that lobbied to ban the incandescent light bulb.
Okay.
So they lobbied to have their own product banned. In the meantime, they've got other lobbyists that are going all over the place convincing governments to subsidize the fluorescent light bulb. Now, I am not certain of this, but I have seen some information to indicate this, that they got so many subsidies coming from so many different directions that they were actually getting paid something incredible. Like they were profiting like $20 per light bulb because of so many subsidies from, like they were getting lots and lots of federal subsidies from different federal offices. And they didn't know that the other offices were also subsidizing. And then states were subsidizing. Several different state offices within each state were subsidizing. Counties and cities were subsidizing. Right. They had so much subsidy going on that the amount of profit they were getting was just ridiculous. And so do you think that they're going to give that up easily? So now along comes the LED, but it's like, so now we've got the LED lights, which, but the thing is that you call an energy audit. What do they do when they do an energy audit? They show up, they look around, they say, you need more weather stripping, and they give you a fuck ton of fluorescent light bulbs. Did they give you a clothesline to dry your clothes on? Because that would actually save a lot more energy every year. No. This is all just a scam to move the fucking light bulbs. They're getting big bank per light bulb. And it's like, if they could stick you with 50 light bulbs, they will, because they're making like $20 a light bulb. They will make bank. So it's like, oh, it's a free energy audit, and these are free light bulbs. Free light bulbs, really? So like the people in China that make these light bulbs, they're like, man, we love Americans so much. They're just
donating their time, yeah.
And we'll even use a Chinese boat to take them over. And it's like, when it comes to your house, it's a Chinese guy, right? He's like, hey, we love you guys so much for bringing you free light bulbs.
A bunch of my friends died pumping the Chinese oil to bring you this light bulb. Okay, so but who are you mad at? Are you mad at the light bulb company? Are they the ones that are wrong? Of course not. They're not the ones that are wrong, right?
They are the ones that are wrong.
How?
Okay,
How is it their fault?
first of all, the light bulb companies are the ones that did the planned obsolescence. They limited the lifespan of the incandescent light bulb.
Okay.
All right. And then they did it not as an open market kind of a thing. They got together and then they created an agreement. Okay, we will all make shitty light bulbs so we can all make more money. Okay. So they agreed to fuck the public for the sake of their own personal profit.
Okay.
They did not allow innovation. They did not allow anybody to make a better light bulb.
How did they stop someone else from making, like, that didn't want to be part of the group to say, hey, I made this light bulb?
Hey, motherfucker, I got a gun. You stop making that fucking light bulb or you're going to die. Understand?
Okay. So it was a literal, like, threat of violence against someone.
Hey, man, it was the 20s. It's how they rolled.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Tommy guns, man. Tommy guns. Then the next phase is that they convince the government to make laws to ban an excellent light bulb.
So that is where I see as the big culprit. It wasn't the light bulb company. It was that the government was okay with that. Let that happen.
True. The government should have been able to stand up and say, wait a minute.
Because
I smell a rat.
What would have happened to the light bulb company? What would have happened if the government wouldn't have said, okay?
Well, I think part of it is that at some point in time, there's shenanigans about the light bulbs, which is where they're making them artificially short-lived, and then they're like forcing other companies to do the same. At some point in time, that's going to come out. And so, in fact, the Phoebus cartel did eventually come out. And by that time, they've already banned the incandescent light bulb. And then there's this, I don't know, thing that's like, oh, we're not doing that anymore. That's like so 1924 and not today.
Now, so my whole argument is that I don't think it's the light bulb company's fault. Now, I do agree that them using violence, that is totally wrong. That's the whole, a principle I live by is the non-aggression principle. Don't cause harm to me. I won't cause harm to you.
I agree that the government should have stopped it, but it's like, let's face it, the way our system is set up, the people that make the laws don't necessarily know jack shit about what the fuck is really going on.
I don't think the government should have stopped the violence, but they shouldn't have stopped the lobbying. What the government should have done is nothing. They should have been like, you're out of your minds. We don't do lobbying or whatever. We don't do that shit.
I mean, the lobbying has to happen. I mean, there's got to be a way for anybody in the public to be able to talk to a government official about this kind of stuff, especially somebody that's a lawmaker. But it's kind of like, so basically they were just hounded by multiple organizations, which are all shills of the light bulb companies, to like embrace the CFL and ban the incandescent light bulb. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't have the knowledge to be able to say no. And at the same time, where your devious mind is going is you're thinking that they were totally in on it. Like they're like, just, hey, you know what? You give me $200,000, I'll vote for anything you fucking want. And so there may have been some of that as well. But
they were going, oh, I don't want to get shot in the head by this fucking light bulb company, so I'm going to pass this law.
Could have been some of that. But basically, I blame the light bulb companies myself. But again, it's like, in so many ways, I mean, I feel like, and a little bit of it is like, how the fuck did I become the light bulb guy? It's like, and here's the whole story on how the fuck I became. I go out and I try to talk to somebody about hugelkultur or any other angle on permaculture, and then nope, shut up, stop. I already bought the fucking light bulbs. I'm done. I'm good. I don't need to hear you prattle on about cultures, hugelkulturs, permacultures. I don't need to hear that shit. I already bought the fucking light bulbs. So fuck off. I got a pizza coming and you're in my way.
There is a strong point I want to make here in saying that it's not the light bulb's fault or the light bulb company's fault. Now, I do agree that that was totally wrong. It was the light bulb's company's fault if they're pointing guns at people, making demands. That's obviously, that's where they went wrong. But the fault of it spreading worldwide or whatever is the government's fault. The government should have never said, yeah, we'll abide your will, whether it's gunpoint to the head or whatever, lobbying, we'll pay you, whatever. Why would they even make a law for this? Why is government making laws? Why should they be making a law saying you need to use these kind of light bulbs versus these ones? Or we're even going to allow us to subsidize shit. Why are subsidies even a part of government? Why should that exist? Now, if we'll say it's nowadays and a light bulb company, we'll say, it was when the internet was around, it's 2000, year 2001 or whatever, a light bulb company, they all band together and they say, we're going to stop this type of light bulb from being made. And we're going to flood the market with this kind of light bulb. Well, if the government says we don't do subsidies, instantly there's a big hit to them, is because now, okay, we can do this, but we're going to have to sell these light bulbs for pretty expensive. And right away, people aren't going to like that. But there aren't any available. So now people are going, hey, I don't want these fucking expensive light bulbs. What happened to the other light bulbs? And light bulb companies are going, well, we don't make them anymore. All that's going to do is spark a light bulb company to start up and say, oh, we'll fucking do it. There's a market for it. And start selling those light bulbs.
I need to answer your question.
Okay.
So you said, why would the government do that? And it's like, so I got to tell a little bit of a story. And that is that I lived in Missoula decades ago, went out into the world, did obnoxious software engineering shit, came back to Missoula. And so I'm looking for a place, and it turns out that a guy let me stay in his garage while I was looking for a place, and I struck up some conversations with this guy like a few weeks earlier, and he's like, hey, come stay at my place. I've kind of renovated my garage to be like, have a bed in it and stuff, and you can stay here. And so it's like, cool, that's really nice of you. That's awesome. And so then I'm there and I'm visiting with his bride-to-be, and she is a state legislator. And so she's telling me that her proudest accomplishment is how she is working to on a light bulb subsidy for CFLs. And this was, I don't know, 8 years ago. And so I tried to talk to her about that, and she ended the conversation in 20 seconds. And basically her position is CFLs are awesome. Any message to the contrary is wrong, and you're making sounds like contrary. So this conversation is now ended. The end. Now, she is, in general, a very lovely, lovely person who let me stay at her future husband's house. But lovely, lovely, lovely person. And she has no clue what she's doing. And of course, she has been bombarded by lobbyists for the great state of Montana to subsidize CFLs from many, many, many different directions. And why? Well, earlier we talked about how if you try to go into the deep wilderness, how your fish are now infested with mercury. Well, how did that happen? From burning coal in our energy plants. Mercury vapor goes up in the atmosphere, it rains, ends up back inside of our rivers and lakes, and then it concentrates in the fish. And so now these fish are effectively inedible from that pollution. Most war is based on energy. The carbon footprint stuff, the pollution stuff. So many of the problems that we have are tied to energy problems. So it's good for the government to make energy. So when I was 21 years old, I worked for the Northwest Power Planning Council in their library, sticking labels on all the materials that was sent to them and putting it into their library and keeping everything orderly so that it could be found on a moment's notice, because there was no such thing as Google yet. So I am intimately familiar with the material that they get, and the Northwest Power Planning Council is desperately trying to find ways to produce energy cleanly. And the number one way to save energy is conservation, or actually, in a way, the number one way to generate new energy is conservation, which is basically a way to make it so you don't have to generate as much energy. That is the best. And so, yeah, these new light bulbs were all the rage. But it's kind of like, wait a minute, how much energy does it actually save? Not that fucking much, because for a lot of reasons. But it's kind of like a clothesline saves you like 10 times more, 15 times more energy. Oh, and a rocket mass heater is going to save you more energy than all of those other things combined. But that's another story for another day. The thing is that I think that the government people, all they heard about were people saying, we've got to save energy, or else we have to build another nuclear power plant or another coal burning plant, or, you know, we got to dam up another river and destroy gazillions of fish and then other kinds of river life habitat. So what environmental destruction are we going to bring to meet the needs of the people? And it's like, well, one of the things we could do is get behind these fucking light bulbs. And so with all the lobbying of just pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding and saying, what, don't you care about the environment? Don't you care about the environment? What about those fish? What about all that mercury in the atmosphere? I mean, are you okay with killing the American people with mercury poisoning? And so all I'm saying is that I think the government gets a pass on this, but you're right. It's the government's responsibility to look out for us. And in this case, they did not. They went along with what the lobbyist asked for. And part of it is that there was nobody anywhere saying, I mean, the environmentalists were saying that this is good for the environment. And that's what bugs me. How did an environmentalist say this is good for the environment? What kind of dumb fuck stood up for this shit?
I don't want to have people live with the opinion that my thoughts are that it's the government's job to take care of us. I'm against that thought process.
Okay.
Because I think it's our own individual selves that are in charge of taking care of us. I don't like the idea of someone else being in charge or having to steal from me to take care of me. And that's all subsidies are, is it's stealing from me so that someone can have a fucking light bulb, whatever. It's just taking money from the whole of everybody who doesn't want to be part of it so that the people that do want to be part of it can have cheaper things. That's a subsidy. And subsidies have a lot of consequences people don't think about, and mainly those consequences are in the free market with other companies, other innovations that could have happened and did not because subsidy existed. Anyway, I have a lot to say on that, and so does Paul, I'm sure. We are a bit off topic. The end point, we got to wrap it up, guys. The end point I'm trying to get at, I hope, or the end message I want to get across is go be an entrepreneur, start a business. Don't get distracted by bullshit. What underlines how good you're doing or how you can represent how good you're doing in the world is the resources you're bringing in and your values. That you're still following your original values and you're bringing in resources. If you're doing those things, you're doing good.
I think there's an important message in there about values. I think that anytime anybody is pointing at you and saying asshole or dick or whatever, I think what they're really expressing is a difference in value set. And I think that if you're going to create a product and make it available and sell it, then that takes a certain value set to be able to pull it off. And there are people that have different value sets than that. Like the people that are like, oh, that's capitalism, that's bad. Or the people, you know, everything should be free or whatever. That's clearly a different value set. I do get a lot of icky hate stuff, especially now that I've, you know, started to sell products. But I've also kind of gotten to the point where it's not just a thick skin. So you were saying something earlier about like having a thick skin and being able to you know, tolerate this. And I do find a little bit of pleasure in deleting YouTube comments or deleting stuff on Permies, especially if somebody's written a big, long, hateful thing, and then it gets deleted like in 2 seconds. I don't know. There's something really satisfying about that. So
And
now
there,
it's almost a positive. I'm getting an endorphin rush from like,
that's an interesting. That brings up another interesting conversation. It has to do with things like YouTube or Facebook. So, Permies is your domain, and you have values that you follow.
yeah,
And what is important to you is that you continue with those values to make Permies go forward.
yeah,
And so you will delete comments. Now, something that's coming up very popularly in culture is things like Facebook, YouTube. Obviously, massively bigger companies,
yeah,
but they're deleting content they don't like or they find offensive.
right.
And there are people saying, but they shouldn't do that because they're in the public eye and it's stifling information from getting out there. It's abolishing the First Amendment. So the argument on
It's not the First Amendment. This
right,
is not freedom of speech. This is freedom of press.
right, okay. So freedom, yeah, that's their argument is freedom
Yeah.
of press, sure. But I think freedom of press has a lot to do with First Amendment. The
Well, they're
freedom-
related, of course,
Yeah.
but they're not the same.
right,
The thing is that if YouTube deletes your shit, you can still go out aside and yell at the top of your lungs, "I like pie," and no one's stopping you from saying that, or "I hate pie," or "banana pie is the only good kind of pie," or whatever it is you want to say. You still have freedom of speech.
hmm
But this is like on Permies. I delete shit every fucking day. A lot of it's spam, but it's like that's freedom of the press. I get to choose what I publish. My freedom of speech. I am paying for the publishing. I get to choose what I publish.
right,
And so people submit stuff to be published, and then I could choose whether or not I want to publish it.
right.
You know?
So what are is that your same thoughts on like these like YouTube deleting conservative videos seems to be the big thing that people are upset about is they're starting to delete conservative talking point videos, things like that. And
Well,
so is that my argument is let it happen because all that I think is going to come out of that is that we'll get another YouTube or YouTube will change.
so I don't know what exactly they're removing, but they do seem to be removing a lot of stuff randomly, willy-nilly. And I have not detected a pattern myself, but I haven't like really put a lot of time into trying to understand it. My stuff's still up. My stuff is still monetized. And yet at the same time, like I've uploaded some stuff and they said copyright violation. And then I go and I look at it and it's like, why are you saying, so then I contest it and they have you fill out this big, long fucking form to contest it. It's like a big pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
And then you submit it. And then they say, your contesting was denied. Do you want to take it to this next level, which is even uglier and nastier? And if you lose this, your whole channel is going to be shut down. And I say, yeah, I'm going to take it all the way. Contest it. I hereby risk my whole channel on this copyright claim. And then I've won those every single fucking time. So, but at the same time, I've seen people try to put my DVDs up on YouTube. And then I fill out the thing to contest it. And then one time I got an email from somebody saying, why did you do that? Why? I'm just trying to help. And it's like, you're making me look bad. I got a strike against me now, and it's like, I don't even reply. It's like, why? I don't want to get into it with somebody who's like, I'm stealing your work to help you.
Yeah.
What? I mean, I think that's a big part of copyright is being respectful to the creator. And I had somebody recently try and tell me like, well, if it's a big movie house, like if it's Lord of the Rings, I mean, what do they care if it gets pirated? And it's like, no, I think they've created that. And so be respectful to their copyright, be respectful to whatever they've asked. So if you're pirating it, that's being not respectful. And so, no, that is not okay ever. And it's like, In fact, all this shit going down on the internet right now with the stuff where they're gonna basically close off big chunks of the internet. Net neutrality. I really think that the core of net neutrality is piracy. I think that this is Hollywood lawyers doing what they can to protect the interests of their clients. And we're all going to lose the internet because some people just had to pirate shit. And it's like, stop fucking pirating shit or we're going to lose the whole fucking internet.
Well, they're looking for, it's a great excuse to put in restriction on the internet is piracy. They want to, I think there was a lot of desire to restrict the internet for multiple reasons.
Sure. Sure.
And this is just a great excuse to have it happen.
They're going to use a broadsword. They're not going to take a scalpel to the problem. They're going to use a broadsword.
Yeah.
And so we're going to lose a lot of shit all at once because of piracy.
This so much reminds me of a recent encounter I had. So I was with someone, we went to a gas station, we come out, and they've got a new lighter. And I'm like, I didn't see you buy that lighter. And they'd stolen the lighter from the gas station. And so I'm like, why did you steal? That's not cool with me. And the answer was, they're a big corporation. Fuck them. And I'm like, all right, well, first of all, the person running that gas station is not a big corporation. That's a guy trying to make a living running a store. Like, it might have a parent company. Like, you might get mad at McDonald's, but the people at that McDonald's isn't McDonald's. It's a guy running a store trying to make a living. He's not making as much as you think he is. Same with the gas station. Like, you're stealing from that guy, not from the gas station. Now, they do have insurance and things like that, but they have to pay for the insurance. You're stealing from the little guy as well as the big guy. But so it's not cool. It's not okay.
I heard of something recently where somebody was talking about coming and living here. And then I heard about their current situation where they have animals, but they were told, like, if you have animals here, you have to pay this extra amount per month. And so what they did is that every time the landlord would come by, the landlord would announce that they're coming by the next day. So they would clean and take the animals to a friend's house until the landlord went away. And I'm kind of thinking, like, I do not want that person to live here, because then they're just going to lie to me about something. I don't know what, but I don't think you can. I think it's difficult to build community or build much of anything with somebody that's disrespectful to others, which would include being disrespectful to whoever made Lord of the Rings, or disrespectful to what they perceive to be the big corporation. Or another one is that there's people that they do insurance fraud. And it's like, oh, what's it matter? It's if everybody else's insurance rates go up to pay for your fraud, the insurance company's not just going to eat it. It all gets passed around. So I kind of feel like, if really it's about decency. And I feel like permaculture is about decency. And those things are not decent. Stealing that lighter, pirating the movie, insurance fraud, convincing the government to ban your own product, subsidizing your product to the gills. All of these things strike me as not decent.
Yeah.
Or having a product which causes cancer, like knowingly, like Monsanto, those children die. This is not decent. This is not decent behavior. And really, I kind of feel like this is the thing that I love passionately about permaculture, is the idea of being decent, just being decent to people. And so a lot of people point to me and say that I am not decent to people. And it's kind of like, well, we have a different value set, I guess. And I also kind of believe that a lot of times when people are pissed off at me, it's because I'm going to say like, no, in fact, there has been a lot of that. They published on Permies. They posted something at Permies that's like, here they are pirating Toby Hemingway's book, and here's a link. And I deleted that. And then they hate my guts for it. They believe that I am not a decent person. And it's like, you know what? I'm coming back to the point that you made. And it's like, if you're going to go into business for yourself in the world, and it's going to be a permaculture business, be prepared for this kind of stuff, but please bully through it. Please be a permaculture business. Please be a decent business, and be prepared for horribly indecent people to point to you and say indecent in a variety of different ways, all because you're not living according to their twisted and fucked up value set. And so, and I think that that's true. Whenever you do a good and decent thing and you put yourself out there, you're going to expose yourself to the arrows from horrible people.
Absolutely. All right. We got to wrap it up. I got to address this because it sounds like I wasn't clear and people might misrepresent what I'm saying or misjudge what I'm saying. Josh says First Amendment does not apply to private companies performing or providing a forum. You can do what it wants. YouTube can do what it wants. Yeah, I agree. That's not, I wasn't saying you have a First Amendment right and you can say whatever you want and YouTube should not be allowed to stop that. I was saying YouTube should be allowed to stop it. Same with Facebook. They should be able to. Now, I agree with most of the points or a lot of the points that YouTube and Facebook are taking down. But I respect YouTube and Facebook's right to take it down and say it's okay. Because I want something better to come around than Facebook and YouTube. And that is exactly them burying their own grave, I think, is by banning these people. It's going to cause people to, or someone to say, shit, there's a lot of people out here that are getting fucked over by YouTube and Facebook. We could create something better. And I think that's what Permies has done, is with that's a community you can join that's far better than what you would find at Facebook or YouTube.
Right. The values at Permies is going to be dramatically different from Facebook or YouTube. But I do think that I think it would be in the best interest of YouTube to do a much better job of this. But my understanding is that they are still running in the red. And it does seem like they've got massive bandwidth that they've got to pay for. And it's like they're struggling with that. And it's kind of like, I get it. But it also kind of seems like the advertisers are kind of like, okay. And on top of that, it's kind of like there have been some people that have really pushed the boundaries. And like there's some stuff on there where I could see a company saying like, how the fuck did this get on our site? And they're being really upset about it. And they're like, okay, we're going to stop this. And a lot of times you hear, and there's a lot from, and I don't know about, is it conservative content or is it something? I mean, they have stated some stuff about rules. And my understanding is that there's a lot of stuff being removed that does not violate their rules. And it's kind of like, now here's the biggest problem with YouTube. Before you go, let me just interrupt you interrupting me. Just a lot of people have quit their jobs to create a YouTube channel to get the money from getting lots and lots of views. And they've done all the right things and they've charmed YouTube, whatever, and they're getting a lot of, and then suddenly YouTube magically one night cuts their funding, or cuts something about their, like, will stop directing traffic to their stuff or whatever it is. And it's kind of like, and it does kind of seem like it would, I mean, I think what a lot of these people are saying, from what I've heard, can you give me like a couple of weeks notice of what you're upset about and give me a chance to like understand why you want to like shoot me in the head
or direct my viewers to somewhere else?
Yeah. Why do you want to kill my channel? Like, throw me a bone here. And of course, of course, YouTube's not telling them. And I think a lot of it is because YouTube can't afford to hire more people to tell them that. And so they're just doing the quickest thing. And at the same time, I know that like on Permies, I mean, I've been managing online forums for over 30 years. So longer than the internet's been popular. And I got to tell you that when you delete somebody's stuff, you don't want to have a conversation with them about it. You just delete it, because the conversation that they're going to bring to the table is stuff about how I'm ugly, I have poor hygiene, obviously bad breeding, lack of intellect, a lack of education, So all of their arguments are that I'm a dumb fuck and a horrible monster all around. Well, whatever they've put up was golden poetry, which I've interpreted to be basically hate speech. And it's so anyway, it's kind of like, so my policy, the thing that I share with all staff, and since you're on the Permies.com staff, I'm sure I've shared it with you, delete silently. You don't need that ugliness that's going to come back. Just delete it. And if they spot it and get upset, direct them to me, and I'll talk to them about it. Don't stress yourself about it.
Yeah. As far as YouTube deleting conservative stuff, I would say they're deleting all kinds of stuff. Things like videos of people getting their heads cut off and shit like that. But one of the things that's upsetting is that they're deleting hate speech. That's a big thing now, is like people are getting upset because YouTube is deleting their videos citing hate speech. And there's the upset. It's like, what is viewed as hate speech? Like, why are you considering what I'm saying hate speech? I don't see it as hateful at all. So it's an interpretation of what hate speech is, apparently, is where the big issue is, and why a lot of conservative videos are being taken down is because YouTube considers, or is more of a liberal company in San Francisco. They're more of a liberal company, and they are thinking that more of what conservatives are saying is hate speech. I think that's my analysis of what is going on. But anyway, also they're demonetizing. There's a bunch of stuff that's making it so that YouTube people can't make money. That's why you have things like Patreon now, is because people can't make as much money as they used to on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's understandable, because YouTube's like, got to make money, guys. Like, we are not making money. We got to do things, and this is what we're doing. My view is, yes, people have First Amendment rights, but it does not apply to YouTube, because YouTube is a private company and they can do and remove whatever they want. And it should just, Patreon will also censor. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
they should do it, because it makes it so that other companies can come about. It sparks competition and innovation, and competition and innovation are a great thing, in my opinion.
I think that's true. At the same time, I think that there's probably some really ugly, nasty, monstrous stuff that it's amazing it's on YouTube.
But that's the great thing about YouTube, is you don't have to watch it, right? It's not like watching TV.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
But I think that as a publisher myself, then I think that there is some monstrous stuff that I don't want to publish.
Yeah.
There's the hate speech, and of course that's my definition of what is hate speech. But I'm all right. In fact, we've got naked people on Permies. There's pictures of naked people on Permies. I'm all for naked people. But some of this gore and violence, it's like, okay, you might be into gore stuff or whatever, but I've decided I just don't want it on my site. And we've got that whole forum, Meaningless Drivel. It's kind of about like whatever doesn't fit into permaculture, come and visit and chat. And it's like, I'm just not interested in publishing that,
Yeah.
And then of course there's people that we finally got the cider press forums where people can talk about GMOs and herbicides and all that stuff that they want. But on the rest of the site, it's like, no, I'm just not interested in publishing any of that. If it's not organic or better, I don't want it on my site. So YouTube can draw the line wherever they want. I kind of get it. I know that they've got something about naked people. Like they don't want naked people on YouTube. And it's like,
I think that has a lot to do with legal stuff.
Possibly.
Like, we don't want to make it so our customers have to agree and say they're 18 or over. We want kids to be able to go to YouTube,
Right.
and legally, we can't show porn to kids.
Well, I've got two videos that are about harvesting a chicken, and those have been both age restricted. So they've
Mhm.
got an age restricted thing. But I know that I've been clicking around on YouTube, and you know what? If you're going to show like something that looks like there's boobies in it, I'm more likely to click on it.
A lot of people are like
I'm pro
showing
boob.
boobs. Yeah,
I
you get a lot more
love them,
boobs.
and it's like if it's going to show like a woman's pink bits, you bet I'm in. Let's take a look. I mean, I'm amazed that it shows up on YouTube at all. But of course, sometimes I've clicked on stuff on YouTube, like YouTube suggested it. Hey, you want to see this? And it's like, oh, hell's yeah. And so I click on it, and it's like, oh, it's been removed. Well,
Yeah.
why are you offering it to me then? It violates our stuff about naked people. And it's like, that's why I wanted to see it. And so a little joy in the middle of the workday, you know? And but anyway, so they've decided to draw a line, and you're right. It probably has something to do with minors, and like they just decided we just don't want to fight that battle. We don't want to get into it. And I get that. I respect that. And then it's like, but some of this, yeah, a lot of different stuff that could end up in legal battles and stuff. I could see where they don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
As far as people posting like gory stuff on Permies, the argument might be, this is shock value. This gets people to really think about what I'm saying and make it real. Like if they're talking about some horrible thing that's happening in some country, here's a picture of a kid getting killed, so you see it and it's in your head, and yeah, absolutely, Paul can say, "Fuck no, that should go away," and delete it. And if you think it's so good it needs to happen, try posting it somewhere else, or start your own site and post it there.
Then there's always that. And as you say that there might be a new YouTube someday, and it's like, you know, I'm kind of going with the flow right now. If a new YouTube shows up, and there's been a lot. I mean, like Vimeo, you and I both use Vimeo a lot.
Yep.
Because the security on there is better than at YouTube.
Yep.
Their player is not nearly as good as YouTube. And there's lots of other things. There's lots of other avenues to play in, but it's kind of like, yeah, you know, if there's going to be a new YouTube, I might move my movies over there when it exists. But for now,
there's enough traffic for it. There are alternates to YouTube, like DTube. I've been looking into that recently. Some other alternates, and there's some great ones out. Like, holy shit, this is a great platform, but the traffic's not there yet. So hopefully they do get more traffic, and it can be more value added for me to spend the time to and resources to create and upload videos to those avenues.
I think I'm surprised that YouTube still pays money to people to show videos and post videos and stuff. And it's like these other services, I don't think any of them do they? Do any of the other video ones?
Yeah, so DTube is like it's a tip base kind of thing. So if you like what is being said, the viewer, you give them money. It's a donation, like volunteer tipping system. I don't think they do advertising. So there's no payment that way. I don't think there's advertising yet. Now they could very well implement advertising, and they probably should, but
you know what would be cool is if they had something on YouTube where, like, because they got that YouTube Red where you pay like $8 a month or something like that, and it's like, let's suppose that you did that, and it came with like 100 pennies, and anytime you gave a thumbs up to a video, they got a penny, and if you didn't give out 100 thumbs up, then you lose your pennies. They just disappear.
right.
And then it's kind of like, you know, now if you've got, and it's, I don't know.
Kind of like the pie program at Permies.
Maybe, wow, I hadn't thought of that. Maybe that's a feature we should add into the pie program. That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
All right. We're way past time.
Yeah, we are. Hour and 40 minutes in. Wow, guys, thanks for sticking around. We do got to wrap it up. We will see you all next week. I really hope you enjoyed the show, and thank you so much for all your support, supporting us on Patreon, buying Permaethos courses really, really helps us get the message out to everybody, and I hope you're enjoying it.
Bye.
Bye.